Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Nature's a Hoot. This is the wildlife podcast from the Hawk Conservancy Trust. This is where we answer the all-important questions about the wonderful world of feathers and talons and find out more about the conservation and research work going on all around the world to support these incredible species. On this month's episode, we're answering the question, do birds of prey really eat venomous snakes? Hello, I'm Tom Morath. I'm the Deputy Head of Living Collection here at the Hawk Conservancy Trust and also your host for Nature's a Hoot as we answer these all-important questions. Now, we're very used to, aren't we, barn owls hunting voles, maybe peregrine falcons hunting down pigeons, but we're not so used to hearing about birds of prey hunting reptiles. But lots of birds of prey do, and in this month's episode, we're going to be exploring those species that have adapted over millennia to evolve to hunt these incredible animals and even some very dangerous animals as well, those reptiles with venom. And there's a few individuals that live here at the Hawk Conservancy Trust which I think certainly deserve a mention in this episode. We're going to be focusing on one species in particular, what I believe to be the ultimate serpent hunter out in the natural world. But I think there's one or two first that deserve an honourable mention. First up, the crested caracara. Now, they're an interesting group of birds, the caracaras. They can be found in southern parts of the USA, into Central America and South America, and they are the closest relatives to the falcon family, as in the peregrine falcon, world's fastest living creature. But you could be forgiven for thinking that they're not related to falcons at all, because they don't behave like them. These are not birds that will very often forage from high up in the sky, tucking their wings and diving down towards their prey. In fact, quite often, they'll choose an ambulatory approach, almost just wandering around, foraging for food on the ground. And in the case of the crested caracara, the bird of the caracas that has the largest range, as far north they've been found as in parts of Canada and as far south into parts of Chile in South America. These birds have a huge range of prey items, anything from tiny grubs, bugs and beetles, through to the eggs of other species of birds and even reptiles, what we're interested in here today. They have been seen going after lizards and snakes. So there we are, our first snake hunter. Then we have the bateleur, sometimes known as the bateleur eagle. This absolutely stunning African bird of prey will use its incredible crest of feathers to try to distract the snake away from their vital organs, and even their feet and talons have extra thick scales on them, so if they were to get bitten by a snake, they have half a chance of survival. They might go after snakes like puff adders and boom slangs, and they will spend most of their days soaring high up in the air, using their incredible wingspan and really short tail to catch any light breeze before spotting their prey in the undergrowth, diving down towards it and catching it on foot. Now, they're not just a predator either. These are birds that will be seen spending their days alongside vultures and other scavenging animals, wading in on a carcass and getting whatever morsel of food it is they can find. But snakes, and venomous snakes at that, are most definitely on the menu for the bateleur eagle. Now, the bateleur eagle, it's also worth mentioning, is an endangered species. Like lots of species of African birds of prey, they are facing some serious decline. We believe over the last 3 generations, as much as between 50 and 80% of this species has been lost. So a species that certainly needs our attention. And as you can see, it's a beautiful bird of prey that it would be a crying shame to lose from our natural world. Now, both species, the battler eagle and the crested caracara, are amazing birds of prey and certainly can take the top spot for many people. But for me, there is only one snake hunting bird of prey that gets to take that accolade. It is the Secretary Bird. And we're very lucky here at the Hawk Conservancy Trust. We have worked with the Secretary Bird as a species for over 30 years. I think I want to take you along with me as we introduce you to our resident Secretary Bird, Angola. Come with me. So we wanted to introduce you to a Secretary Bird, and so we've come here to our savannah arena. I'm going to introduce you to a bird called Angola. So here he is then. What an incredible bird. This is Angola, who is our Secretary Bird. He's the star of our Wings of Africa display, or one of the stars of our Wings of Africa display every single summer. And you can see he's a very striking bird. They're like no other species that we work with here at the Trust. They're sometimes given the nickname of the long-legged marching eagle, and you can kind of see why, can't you? They almost look, there you go, they almost look like an eagle on stilts, but they're not. They are actually not related to eagles. They're in a family of their own almost, or in a genus of their own. And they use these long legs to wander through the savanna grasses. Now, of course, the thing that we're talking about on this episode that the Secretary Bird is super well known for, it's almost their claim to fame, is their ability to hunt and catch snakes. And look at this, he's found one right now. I'm going to bring this a bit closer to you so you can get a really close look at this. Well done, mate, well done. So here's our trusty snake. No real snakes harmed in the making of this podcast. Let's bring him a bit closer. And you can really hear the power and strength that goes into the Secretary Bird's kick. And I can tell you, when you're at close quarters like I am, it is truly amazing to witness. Well done. Okay, here he comes. He's going to go for it again. And again. Amazing. Look at that. You can feel the power and strength when you're this close. One foot, then another foot, repeatedly kicking the head of the snake. Absolutely incredible. One more. Yeah, well done. And in actual fact, let me bring this a little bit closer to the camera. And for those listening along at home as well, let me tell you, there is a huge tear in the top of this snake's head. See, again, not a real snake, but my goodness, it gives you an idea of the, not just the power, but the kind of the sharp nature of those talons as well, to really drive home that force in the top of the snake's head. Incredible creature. What an incredible bird Angola is, and we're so lucky to have him here at the Hawk Conservancy Trust. Now, we wanted to find out a little bit more about the science behind the Secretary Bird's kick. So I've been joined once again here by Dr. Jamie McCorn, who's from our Conservation Research Department here at the Trust. Welcome to Nature's Hoot HQ again, Jamie.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Now, you saw that Secretary Bird kicking that snake. Can you tell us a little bit more about the science behind that kick? How hard is a Secretary Bird actually kicking that snake?
So research that we've taken part in shows that they actually kick with about 5 times their body weight. So that equates to about 195 newtons force. So it's quite a significant punch that it's packing. And that's all happening within about 15 milliseconds. So that's quicker than we blink.
Wow.
So it literally is within a blink of an eye.
So it's incredibly fast and incredibly powerful. And when you watch the footage, and you can sort of be there in the moment and see this happen as well. But each time they're delivering that kick, it's to the top of the snake's head, isn't it? So there's no beating about the bush. They're going in for the kill straight away. Yeah,
absolutely. And you're dealing with snakes that are some of the most venomous on the planet. So you've got your black mamba, puff adders, these kinds of snakes that are not only very venomous, but they also strike very quickly. So it's really important that they can deliver that hit for their defense, for their own safety. And yeah, they don't only just use it on the snakes, they use it in hunting as well. But like you say, that danger that they're in with those kinds of species is really important that they can put that out there early doors.
Yeah, and we're used to birds of prey being known as these incredibly accurate animals as well, aren't we? And when you do see that footage of the Secretary Bird almost sort of slowed down, you can see that each time delivers the kick to the top of the snake's head and can kind of change feet in order to deliver multiple kicks over a short space of time.
Yeah, and it's that ability to, well, the speed of it enables them to also apply another kick almost immediately afterwards. So imagine if, like you say, they are incredibly accurate, but if they did miss or they didn't quite get it quite right, obviously the snake's going to be moving as well. To be able to follow up pretty quickly afterwards and with another very quick kick is really important that they, from their safety point of view. And just imagine, firstly, being able to kick something that's 5 times your body weight on the end of your leg. I'm not sure many of us can produce that, but on top of that, to then have the balance to do it and then switching feet, I think there's a fair few footballers out there who wouldn't mind having that on their list.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'd love to sort of know what that feels like, to kind of put myself in the position of a secretary bird and kind of be there in the moment with that snake. And I'm sort of wondering whether there's a way we might be able to do that.
Well, funny you should say that, Tom. I thought it might be just that great idea to set you at work against our big rubber snake from our displays.
Wow, well, I'm willing to try anything. Let's do it.
So I thought it'd be good for you to test how powerfully you can kick our friendly stuntman Steve snake that Angola is very familiar with.
Okay.
Do you want to give it a go?
Well, I've watched him do it hundreds and hundreds of times here during our Wings of Africa display. I'm game to give anything a go. Let's try it. Okay, I'm going to have my wings out. My tail feathers are fanned. Okay, here we go. First kick. Second kick. It's actually quite hard to aim each time for the snake while you're on a standing start. Now, how powerful is that snake being kicked?
So, from a human's point of view, you'd be kicking at about the weight of 400 kilograms, so the same as a horse attached to your leg, effectively. That's the force you're applying.
Which is incredible in and of itself, but this is from a standing start as well, isn't it? This is not like a Premiership football player who's coming up at a run and really kicking the ball. This is from feet planted, delivering that force straight down through the heel.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
Incredible. Well, that was fun. I enjoyed that, but there is a serious point to all of this because, like many African raptors, the secretary bird is a species that is facing challenges in the wild. How are they doing, Jamie?
Well, they're declining. Like you say, as with many of the Africa's diurnal raptors, there's a lot that are going that way. We've been involved in research that has shown that I think a third of the diurnal raptors in Africa across multiple sites are showing signs of decline. Even 13 out of 27 that are listed as least concern on the IUCN Red List, our data or that study showed that there are that all of them could be actually more threatened than their current status suggests across those survey areas. So included, not in those 27, but is the secretary bird. They also showed that over those multiple sites that they, in 3 generations, they could actually reach or match the criteria to be critically endangered. They're currently endangered, so they were vulnerable in 2016. That got escalated to endangered in 2020, and like I say, that research suggests that certainly in parts of their range it might be even worse than that current status suggests. So the population estimate, I think, is between around 6,500 to 67,000, so really broad numbers. So it sort of shows that imprecision kind of shows just how much more work there is to do on better understanding the numbers that there are in the wild, and that's quite applicable across a lot of those raptors. But like I say, that trend isn't positive at the moment. Some of the threats they're facing is largely around the land that they use, so that degradation of their habitat, habitat fragmentation, some of the sort of expansion of both urban areas and farming agricultural areas. And they're a very nomadic species, so they'll do a lot of walking to find new breeding areas or breeding partners and for food. And so the more that landscape and habitat changes or becomes more increasingly dangerous, they're going to be walking through that and trying to navigate more of those threats that inherently threaten their current status.
No, and it's a real crying shame for any bird of prey species, but for a bird like Angola, who we know has such broad appeal and inspires so many people, let's face it, this is a TikTok famous bird. He has got millions upon millions of views all around the world on TikTok, on Instagram, on social media. People love secretary birds. And I feel like if all of those people knew just how endangered these birds were, there'd be an uproar. And so this is us telling you just how much secretary birds need your love and support. Now, here at the Trust, we are involved in a European-wide conservation programme to support the species across European collections and zoos. And part of what we do is we educate about the species through media just like this, but also through our daily flying displays as well. And Angola takes part in those displays. So if you want to support us, to support him and to support the species in general, come and visit us here at the Hawk Conservancy Trust. It's a great day out and you're supporting incredible birds of prey too. So Jamie, we've included 3 different species of birds of prey within this episode, talking about different species hunting and catching venomous snakes. We had the secretary bird, the crested caracara and the bateleur eagle. It seems to me there are some striking similarities between these 3 species, and if you see them side by side, each of them have very bright, colourful orange faces. And it occurs to me that maybe this is some sort of technique to try to warn the snake off from striking them in their head or in their face, which could be obviously very, very dangerous for them in the wild. Is that correlation a correct one to make?
I don't know 100%, to be honest with you. Certainly, my understanding is that snakes will have better vision based on movement rather than necessarily colours. I don't know quite how well they see in colour, but certainly when I was living and working in South Africa in the field, it was always a case that you would stand still if you see a snake. The movement is what they can follow or track. And then, like you saw with Angola earlier, putting those wings out, making that broad target, doesn't know necessarily where to aim. So there's also work that looks at, do spitting cobras aim their spit at people's eyes? And some research, initially we thought, yeah, that seems likely, but actually more recently it looks like that's the central mass of a target, so it just becomes that, even though they've probably not actually been able to see where your eyes are or aren't. More to test, I'm sure. But it's interesting that you raised that question, because it's that kind of thing that is inherently what we do as scientists is, these 2 things might marry up, but we don't know. Seems logical, but let's go out there and test it and see does it actually marry up. And sometimes it's very difficult to test some of these things, or if only you could talk to them and just ask, but it doesn't work like that. So we have to try and think of ways that either best replicates that scenario or does 100% test it. So I probably would suggest that it's more likely to be displaying or used for display to others within their species group, rather than necessarily danger certainly to a snake. There might be other things that see that and do see in colour and do take that message. But I think with snakes it will be more that movement factor that they'll be basing it on.
That's interesting. Sometimes it's not the original theory that you think is true that turns out to be true. And that's why our work in research is so exciting, isn't it? We're always coming across new things to learn and discover about the natural world. Thank you, Jamie.
You're very welcome.
So there we have it. Birds of prey do hunt venomous snakes, and not just the ones we've featured on this episode of Nature's a Hoot. But if you want my opinion, I reckon secretary birds do it best. They're awesome birds, and I love working with Angola every single day here at the Trust. Now, remember, if you'd like to support the podcast, all you need to do is leave us a like or subscribe to our YouTube channel here at the Hawk Conservancy Trust. If you've got questions about birds of prey that you would like answered, maybe leave us a comment down below and we will do our best to answer them in a future episode. You might even get yourself a mention here on Nature's a Hoot. We'd love to say a massive thank you to our friends over at Orange Planet Pictures for supporting the podcast. We couldn't do any of this without their support. Thank you for listening, and tune in next month to answer more incredible questions about the amazing world of birds of prey here on Nature's a Hoot. Now, in case anybody's worried, this is Stuntman Steve. He is a rubber snake, not a real snake. And Jamie, we wouldn't be kicking real snakes, will we?
Absolutely not.
Please
No, thank you.
do not go out after watching this episode, find snakes and kick them. We love snakes. Snakes are wonderful. But Stuntman Steve is in the show every day. He's a professional.
Knows what he's doing.